Hello and welcome to the Sports Extravaganza today, presented by Hollywood Entertainment. And our sponsor today is State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Contact Ken Cade at 314-997-3339. That's 314-997-3339. He's located at 8429 Olive. And like I said, he can handle your auto, home, and life. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. I'm your co-host, Tony Dean, for today's show, and I am here with my man. Now, Batman and Robin, that's what he says we are, but he's the Batman of this group. His name is Kelvin Lee. How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing great, but everybody knows that it's the other way around, Tony. You're Batman, I am Robin, okay? I take a back seat. But here's the deal. I'm excited to be here. I got away for about a week, been away, went to Florida for the weekend, got some R&R, I took a break, now went back, and I'm excited to be here again for the Sports Extravaganza for our podcast number 5. And again, I got a couple of shout outs, maybe 3 before we get started with our guests, but the first is our Olympic team. I want to have a shout out to Jason Tatum. And again, winning that gold medal, every kid's dream is to play in the Olympics, and he got that opportunity, and they came home with the gold. Again, we were all in agreement earlier that Bradley Beal, who was on the team, he should get a gold medal as well. That's the way we feel. That's our guy. And again, it would be right if he didn't get a gold medal. So again, shout out to those guys and the Olympic team for winning and bringing that gold back home. All right, second shout out. Again, former high school coach Landon Champagne over at Bishop Burke High School, just got accepted, got a job at SEMO. And again, we want to give a shout out to him as well. Wish him luck. And again, Coach Champagne, if you're watching, again, you can come back into St. Louis. You're one of ours. You can come back and recruit and hit St. Louis hard and recruit our players. You can come in my door anytime at U City. Again, shout out to you. And third and last but not least, I'd like to give a shout out to, again, our guest here. Now, nobody needs, again, we go back a long ways, and I call you famous for a reason. Again, while I was an assistant coach at SLU, and that's when we met. And again, you've been doing radio and broadcasting for SLU for a long time, and again, we've traveled together. I remember the time we went to Memphis in a car together. Yeah, I never forget that, Earl. We went to Memphis when we got a chance to bond a little bit. That was a special for me as an assistant coach to be in a car, because you have a lot of knowledge. I listen to you, Earl. You got a lot of knowledge up there, and you were good for me on that trip, and I appreciate that. Again, that's a shout out to you, man. I'm so glad you're here, because we're going to have a lot of fun. There are a lot of people out there, and a lot of guys who get out and evaluate players, but they don't get out like you. I mean, you're at every event. I don't know how you do it, Earl. I know every gym I walk in, there you are.
There he is.
And that's a shout out to you, because again, we're the hardest working guy in show business, and I appreciate everything you've done for our high school grassroots basketball and evaluating and helping these kids, because without you, some of the kids would not get scholarships. And that's what it's all about to me, helping the kids. Appreciate you, Earl. We're glad you're on.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Definitely glad to have you here. I mean, I think a lot of people know Coach, as you do, of course, that Earl is pretty much famous for what he's done with high school sports in this area, all kind of sports, especially basketball. They know how long he's been with the St. Louis American, since 1995. He's a writer and an editor for them. They know how long he's been a basketball analyst with the Billikens. But I don't think a lot of people really know that Earl is actually from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Earl is lettered in varsity at McClure North High School for 2 years, and then went on to Lindenwood University, where he's the all-time leading scorer and rebounder in the history of the school.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people know that. So we want to definitely get into that journey, Coach, don't we?
Yeah, well, again, girl, we're going to turn the mic over to you. Just tell us about your journey. Tell us how you guys got started, that passion for the love of basketball. I'm sure you probably play multiple sports, but I know basketball is your passion. So let's talk about that for a minute.
Well, as you said, I was born in Milwaukee, and obviously the Bucks were the big thing in Milwaukee. I was 6 years old when
Fear the Deer.
When they won their first championship. It was funny because when they just won it,
Kareem, Oscar.
Yep, we were there in the arena actually for the first 2 games of the championship series. Although me and my family, we weren't cheering for the Bucks, we were cheering for the Baltimore Bullets, because my Uncle Wes was a star player for the Bullets. So we might have been the only 3 or 4 people cheered for the Bullets. But it was fun. We got a chance to see a lot of Bucks games. Obviously, Lou Alcindor, now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Oscar Robertson, Bobby Dandridge was a rookie. And so it was kind of special to see 50 years later for them to come back and win another championship on the 50th anniversary. And then Game 3 to see Kareem and Oscar show up in Milwaukee at the arena in Bucks gear too. Kareem had the Bucks gear on. That kind of brought back a lot of memories. And I was there. We were there also in '74 when they finished second. They got lost to the Celtics in Game 7, and JoJo White from St. Louis had a big game. But yeah, that was my first love of sports. One of our neighbors when we lived was a man named Larry Whiteside. He was a Hall of Fame sports writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. We covered the Brewers. And then he went on to cover the Red Sox in Boston and had a Hall of Fame career. Yeah, so he was our neighbor, and I used to pal around with his son, Tony. So me and my father, we used to kind of battle for the newspaper in sports section every day. I was 3, 4, 5 years old, and my mother kind of figured it out. She had to get 2 newspapers, one for me and one for my father, so we can each have our own sports section to read. So that's kind of had my love for sports. And then as I got into grade school and junior high school, when I was in class, I kept 2 separate notebooks. I would have a notebook to write my lessons down, whatever notes with the teacher, and then I'd have a separate notebook at the same time, and I would be writing down lineups of basketball teams, baseball teams.
That's funny.
College
I
teams.
did that too,
Yeah.
Earl, growing
And
up.
a couple times I've had more than a notebook taken away from me from my teachers. I had to bring another one. And it's funny, to this very day, I still do write down lineups. Even like Kelvin said, when we were at St. Louis U together, I would always write down lineups for the Billikens, who they're recruiting. To this day, I still do lineups, even though I have them on my phone, or I'll put them in my notebooks and stuff like that. So that's something I've been doing for over 50 years.
Earl, I had the nerve to do lineups and put myself in the lineup.
Okay. I did that when I got to college when I was playing. Yeah. But yeah, so I've always had a love for sports, and then like I said, it's in my family. My Uncle Wes, obviously a Hall of Fame player, but even my father, I grew up on the softball diamonds. He played slow pitch softball in Milwaukee, Wisconsin back then. It's huge. It's as big as baseball. So he played in the industrial leagues. He played in the league on Sunday, where all the black teams play, African American teams had taverns. He played in the industrial leagues on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and he played in the company league. He worked for Schlitz Brewery. And so we played in some big time tournaments, and it was a big deal, slow pitch softball. So I was a bad boy, and then I was a scorekeeper as I got older. So I spent a lot of time just paddling around with my father on the softball diamond. So love of sports has been there since I was a toddler, probably.
Now, you had to have a love for basketball too. You have a similar thing almost to the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan. I mean, you were originally cut and didn't originally make it in your high school team. It wasn't until your junior year that you finally got a chance to
Yeah, I was a
play.
late bloomer. I went out for my freshman team at Liverpool, New York, Liverpool High School. And they had 2 freshman teams at that time because it's a big school. I got the blue team and the orange team. I didn't make either one. Wow. So then we come back the following year and tried out for the JV team, which was only 1 team. So my chances weren't very good since I didn't make either one of the freshman teams.
Yeah.
And got cut then too.
Wow.
So we moved here through my father's job for the brewery, and I was a junior going to McClure North High School, and I was going to give it one more chance, and I thought if I got cut, I probably would give up basketball altogether, but made the team, and didn't play a lot because we had a great senior class, and then I finally got to play my senior year, and had a decent year, and then got recruited to go to Lindenwood University and played for now a good friend Grayling Tobias, who was a star athlete at McClure, also baseball, basketball, all that. A couple of state championships in high school. He kind of got me going on the right way, and was very fortunate to have a great career at Lindenwood. And then my sister followed me, Courtney, and she was a state champion in McClure North High School and had a Hall of Fame career at Lindenwood. And then 10 years later, my brother did the same thing.
Fantastic.
Played the Cardinal Ritter, played with Chris and Lauren Woods, Chris Carrawell, and then he went to he's a baseball player, and he played basketball, had a good career, but didn't play baseball, and played professionally overseas and independent. He's in the Frontier League MVP, Frontier League Hall of Fame as a baseball player, which was my father's sport. My father was always a baseball player, and I never really followed the family business. I think when he found out that the final signal that I was going to be a basketball player, not a baseball player, was when he bought me this nice baseball glove, and we went out and played. After we played some baseball, we went to at Syracuse called the courts and just played pickup basketball. Mm-hmm. And then that evening I left And I left that baseball glove at the courts, and my father was furious, the glove, but then it was a signal that my son's not going to be a baseball player, he's going to be a basketball player. So when Richard came along 10 years later, he was happy because he was a baseball player, then a basketball player. So.
That was
Now,
fantastic.
Earl, you mentioned Graylin Tobias, great man. Yeah,
Yes.
he's a great man. He was a referee for a while.
Yes.
And I used to love him when he'd do my game because he was real straight-laced.
Absolutely.
To the book, to a T, and he dressed real nice, too. But he's a good man, and we stay in touch today. But who was your high school coach at McClure North at the time?
It was Pete Waldo. He
Okay.
had just passed away last year at the age of 90. Good man, very good man. He was McClure North had opened in 1974. 75, and then so he was our first coach. He was there for about 10, 15 years before he retired. He had a great team in 1978, a year or two before I moved here. They were undefeated and got to the state quarterfinals. They were one of the top teams in the state, and I think they got upset by Kirkwood in quarterfinals. And then the year before, I guess my junior year, we were pretty good.
Okay.
We were our senior class, but that was his.
Yeah.
That was his best team.
Okay, cool, man. All right.
Also, when you were at Lindenwood, I'd be remiss not to talk about this. I'm not trying to embarrass you because I know you don't love all the accolades, but come on, man. You had your jersey retired. I mean, it's
Yes,
like
sir.
this is like a storybook. Now, you had your jersey retired, and in tribute to your uncle, you wore number 41.
How about
That had to be beautiful to have Wes Unsell's number.
Yeah, that was my idol growing up. I went to his camps all the time and kind of patterned my game after him through the outlet pass, set screens, but I was more offensive minded, especially when I got to college. But,
Right.
I just learned so much from him because I was an undersized offense, post player forward at 6'2", 6'3". I played against the big guys all the time, so he taught me all the tricks of the trade to succeed, and it was an honor to wear his number, and then to get it retired, it was an even bigger honor.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I thank Brad Soderberg, who's the coach at Lindenwood, Marshall Newman, the assistant coach, for bestowing that honor upon me. So it's weird when we go back, because they have a lot of AAU events and stuff at Lindenwood, and people will walk by it, and then they'll see the name, and then they'll see Earl Austin Jr. on the name and everything, and then they'll scratch their, wait a minute, is that guy in the newspaper, on TV, or on the radio? Is that same guy? Then they'll ask me, you that guy? Is that true?
Yeah, man.
That's me. 'Cause that's the thing. A lot of people don't know I actually played. They just know me from talking about it.
Yeah.
And they say, "Oh God, he actually played." So yep, that's me.
I know it's old school, but I still couldn't imagine taking a screen from Wes Unsell. That was a solid
You're talking about one of my
individual.
all-time favorite players. I used to love watching him. Like you said, get a rebound and that outlet, man. That was something to see, right? How he would take it above his head, and then he could make. Correct me if I'm wrong. A full court pass, an outlet, and just boom,
Yes.
from over his head.
Without-
Yep, people
doubt.
say, and I've seen him do it at his camp, and the incredible strength. He'll throw the ball up on the backboard. He'll jump up, catch it, turn, and rifle it across the court, and it hit the other backboard.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can
it's the
see
most-
that
Yeah,
tremendously
I always
strong.
say that, basketball, we look at the three-point shooting. Obviously, it's great, and just so many rebounding, scoring, everything. But I always say he's probably the best to ever play the game in two aspects: throwing the outlet pass, which I think is unquestionable, because every time, even today, he retired 40 years ago. Every time you see an outlet pass at whatever level, people refer, "Oh, that's the Wes Unseld outlet pass," and then setting the ball screen. I mean, those aren't the sexy things, but those are things that are crucial to good offense.
Those are the small things.
Small
brother.
things. He's probably the best to ever do it in those two aspects of the game. Like I say, best shooter, Curry, best dunker, Jordan, Dr. J, Dominique, best rebounder, Will, best shot blocker, but as far as those two things, he probably, in my opinion,
as far as
is the
setting a
best.
screen,
Yeah.
once you took a screen from him after the guy woke up, he probably cursed.
And it
his
wasn't,
teammate
and it
out.
wasn't one of these moving screens like they see now,
Right.
like
Exactly.
Draymond
Right.
Green.
It's a real
sticks
screen now.
Draymond Green sticks a hip out and moves. I mean,
Real
he's
stuff.
downfield blocking. They do all these illegals. He'll stand there and
Yeah.
you run into him, and you hurt you if you're not.
Oh,
you don't
man.
call the screen.
And Earl,
out.
those are some of the things that we as high school coaches we can take notes from, and take heed, because again, how often do you work on that stuff today? Rebound, outlet pass. They don't work on it as much as anymore. But again, credit to Wes Unseld. Come on, man. He was the best at what he did. And
Yes, he was.
Yeah, well, Kevin Love kind of throws the same outlet
Kevin
pass.
Love, exactly.
And it's fact, Kevin and Wes.
His dad played with
Yeah,
with
Stan
Wes
Love
Unseld.
is my uncle's one of his best friends and his teammates.
Yes,
and,
sir.
And Kevin is Wes's godson, and so and he taught him. Stan taught Kevin
Yep.
the outlet pass, and Kevin
Yeah.
probably does it after Wes and Bill Walton, Kevin Love. You know?
Yeah.
Don't want to underrate the mid-range either. During that period of time, I think the only couple of people that shot that mid-range as well was another undersized center, Dave Cowens. I mean, Dave Cowens and Wes Unseld both shot that mid-range shot, and they could make it with regularity. If it wasn't for his knee injuries, you would have saw him more like his rookie year driving to the basket more,
Yeah.
too. So,
Yeah,
great player.
Mid-range shot is just, and you saw that in the playoffs this year, how the mid-range is still an integral part of winning basketball.
That's right.
People are telling you no, threes, layups, free throws, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
You know?
That's
No,
right.
mid-range, you can win with mid-range
Win with
shooting.
mid-range.
And you can win with a big man.
Exactly.
right.
You know,
Exactly.
they've been trying to legislate the big man out of the sport,
Yeah.
but now you see last year Davis won a championship. This year Giannis,
That's
then
right.
Jokic MVP.
That's right.
Embiid MVP led his team to a 1 seed. Big guys playing like big guys. You don't always have to
Right.
be like a
Earl,
7'2" shooting guard.
And
You
Earl,
play
we
like
go
a
back to
big.
that Milwaukee Bucks team. You know, we're talking about the Greek freak, but
Yes.
again, Lopez.
And Lopez,
At
a
one
big
point,
man,
He
yes.
was dominant inside.
Right.
Always likes to shoot that three.
Yeah.
Right.
But at one point, if you want to win, he went inside.
Yeah. Well, when Freak was out those 2 games, they put Lopez in, and he had like a 33-point game
Exactly.
against the Hawks.
Exactly.
So it's great, and Ayton was great in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's okay to tell you you can play. It's fine. I love it to see skilled, versatile big kids like
Yeah.
AD, Karl Anthony Towns, even Porzingis at 7'4". I mean, I love to see that, but it's also good to see a big. You can tell a big man. You can play
Big
like
man.
a big man.
Play like a
Yeah.
big man.
You know,
That's
block
right.
shots, protect the rim, and score,
Yeah.
and do those things, and then shoot the mid range. It's okay, and what we saw with Phoenix and Milwaukee in particular, and still compete for championships.
Okay, I got one other question. I got another question for
go
the
for it,
famous
Coach.
Earl.
Sure.
How do you feel about free agency in the NBA? There's a lot of movement every year, and a lot of money being paid to these guys, and some of the guys are chasing that dollar. But again, the loyalty as far as being on one team, do you feel like it's really out the door because guys are chasing that championship? How do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's. I mean, you're chasing. I mean, you're getting people are throwing ungodly sums of money. Yeah, you got to take it.
Yeah.
Now, I think because of the people are, the creating the own super team type deal where people talk. I think that comes out of this ring culture and obviously this grassroots AAU culture where everybody looks to, you've seen it. Everybody wants to stack their AAU team. You know, like you got guys. You remember back when I was in high school and you were coming up. You played with guys in your city. My team, St. Louis, we play against guys from Chicago. We want to show that we're from
Exactly.
St. Louis.
That's right.
We want to
Exactly.
show
We
that
gonna
New York,
represent.
Chicago.
That's right.
We,
Yes, sir.
that first St. Louis Eagles team at Irwin
Yeah.
Claggett, guys you recruited, and
Exactly.
played for you guys.
Exactly.
Julian Winfield, Irwin Claggett, Scott Highmark, Jamal. They went out to the, then Larry Hughes and that group, all
Exactly.
St. Louis guys went in that.
Justin Tatum.
Justin Tatum,
That's right.
all those guys. So
Yeah.
now it's, guy from St. Louis, a guy from Chicago, it would be a guy from North Carolina, a guy from Kansas. I mean, they just, which kind of shrinks the country, but it's different. So now you see that in the college recruiting guys, same thing, like the Fab Five. Hey, let's all get together, and now you see it in the NBA. So I think it's that culture, and then the ring culture, and that people put so much pressure. I think it's unfair. Hey, no matter what kind of career you have, you're nothing without a ring.
Right.
And I don't think. I mean, it enhances you if you can get 1, 2, 3, 4. It enhances your greatness, but I don't think it diminishes you if you play 15 years for a franchise, an all-time great, and don't happen to not win a championship. I don't think you should be diminished because of that.
Are you happy with the fact or like the fact that it seems to be all through free agency? I mean, no one seems to. Every now and then there's a good trade that happens, usually a player forcing his way from a team. But no one does anything like, the old Jerry West thing. Jerry West basically says you build a team through the draft, trades, and free agency. You don't see that mix as much in.
Oh, it's hard. It's really hard because the destinations, there's about 4 or 5 teams that, the Lakers, Miami Heat, maybe a few other places. Now Brooklyn has become that destination because that's where the stars are. Like when LeBron was in Cleveland, they had great teams, but he couldn't get his guys to Cleveland. But Miami and LA, it's come on through. Those are destination places. LA, you could make all kind of money as well as win championships. In Miami, South Beach, come on, But it was harder in Cleveland to get great free agents, and that's so it's cool to see. Even though it's cool to see like a Giannis or Dirk Nowitzki, and it's funny because they're both from international players, stayed where they were. Got their heads busted, especially Giannis. They won 18, and Middleton won 18, 14 games.
Right.
And the state, of course. And Giannis was pretty, and that's like, but then Giannis didn't come up in that AAU grassroots culture, so, and his thinking's different. He didn't come up in that ring culture, so to him, it's like, hey, I live in Milwaukee, I'm making $250 million, so I'm given a great life, I got a family, and I love it here, If I can't win a championship, that's fine. So.
I'm going to piggyback on you a little bit. Again, it was refreshing to see those two teams, Phoenix and Milwaukee, because they pretty much done it that way.
Yeah.
Booker, he had the opportunity to leave.
Booker could have left.
But
People were telling him to leave, push him out the door.
But he stayed, and he got paid. But again, look where they are now. That was refreshing to see. Even Bradley Beal. Yep. Bradley's had opportunities to leave, but he stayed with Washington. Because again, he wants to build something there, and hopefully he will. It could be done. Yeah. It can be done if you do it the right way.
And I was glad to see Bradley get his flowers for staying. See, he should have made All-Star team, NBA team last year.
Exactly.
And they put that label, no, but he didn't win. No, you didn't penalize him because he was loyal to a franchise that was tanking last year. Remember John Wall they traded Otto Porter, Kelly Oubre, everybody off that playoff team they traded. So they were literally starting over. Yeah. And Bradley had to average 30, so you don't penalize him for being loyal. He should, so this year it was good to see him get, and not only Bradley has become a great player in Washington, but he's become one of the best citizen, community minded. He's really set his roots.
Exactly.
As much as he's here in St. Louis, he's a man of DC now.
Exactly.
He has set his roots there in the community. So, and I think that means a lot to him. That's why it's been hard for him to just say that I'm gonna leave.
Exactly.
So I'm hoping, praying that obviously they got my cousin there coaching, and they're making moves to become a more competitive team. Getting to back to the playoffs was fun. Yeah. So hopefully he gets rewarded, and that goes hand in hand with that loyalty. You need a front office that you can trust.
Tommy Shepard's doing a good job.
Yeah.
I really think
Milwaukee did what they were supposed to do.
Made the right moves.
The big man said, "Okay, I want to stay." Make it okay. Now do what you got to do. I think Philly needs to do that with Embiid because they got a chance. So that goes hand. I think that's what you learn. Don't take your superstars for granted. Yeah. Because they're there for 4 or 5 years. Don't take them for granted. Try to build a championship level team. Then they probably won't go anywhere.
Yeah. Emphasis on team.
Yes.
Oh yeah, definitely emphasis on team. And before we get back to our conversation, I want to talk about a superstar also. That superstar is our sponsor, Kincaid, through State Farm Insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Remember, contact Kincaid at 314-997-3339. That's 314-997-3339. And like I said, he'll take care of your auto, home, and life. Earl, the other thing I wanted to say to go back for a second, Coach, how proud are you of your cousin? Of your cousin Wes Unseld Jr.?
Oh, I'm as proud of him getting this job as I was when his father led the Bullets to the championship in 1978.
All right.
I mean,
he's the head coach of the Washington Wizards now, right?
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
He's been grinding for over 20 years. He was a scout for just out of high school, college. He became a scout for the then Bullets, and then he became an assistant coach. Then he was a scout for the Mystics too, the WNBA and the Bullets, and he's put his time in on Orlando, Cleveland, Golden State, then Denver. He had a great relationship with Mike Malone. He made him his associate head coach, and we thought Chicago was going to happen last year because their GM was from Denver. Then Billy Donovan became available, and that's happened. But the fact then the Bullets job became available. I still call them the Bullets. It's funny because that's my team.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
53 years.
You're not the only one.
Since 53 years, whatever years. But it's amazing. I was like, God, this has to happen. So when it did, It's
Yeah.
our whole family is just ecstatic, and I know
We
Uncle
talk
Wes
about
is
this
great.
all the time, don't we, Coach?
Yes, we do.
Relationships.
Yes, we
It's
do.
about relationships.
Yeah. And Earl, again, talk a little bit about this year. It seemed like it was more African American coaches being hired in the NBA. And a lot of jobs out there, but we got about, I think it was about 8
Yes.
African American.
Yes, everybody.
coaches.
Yeah, the only job that wasn't was Rick Carlisle, who was hired in
Indiana.
Indiana, which he basically coached there when Larry Bird was
Exactly.
there. He kind of was the head coach there
Yeah.
anyway. But yeah, I think what we saw was, like I said, there was only 7 in the league this year out of 30, and the league is 3/4 or more African American. And to see 3 coaches take their teams to the Final Four,
Yep.
I think that, Phoenix, who did Milwaukee? Phoenix played Tyronn Lue and the Clippers.
Oh, yeah,
And then,
Tyronn Lue and Clippers.
Then
Oh, you're talking about
Nate
coaching.
McMillan,
Yeah.
and
Now
then,
Willie Green in New Orleans.
yeah, and then Phoenix with who did a great job as well, Monty Williams, and then James Jones. You talk about the GM who built that team through the draft.
Did a great
So you see
job.
3 coaches, and I think that just will open up a lot of eyes.
Yeah,
These
that
guys
speaks-
opportunities.
That speaks volumes for them. We've all been labeled
Yes.
as just bench coaches or
Recruiters
exactly.
or relate, but
Yeah.
I think, and the fact that they got
Yeah,
jobs, not just like Jason Kidd got the Dallas Mavericks job,
yeah,
playoff team, Luka Doncic,
Yep.
Steven
Udoka,
Silas in
yeah,
Houston.
Yeah, Udoka got the Boston Celtics, whose record of hiring black coaches goes way back to the '60s. Where Boston has that reputation as not kind of us and well deserved, but Red Auerbach set a tone. He hired Bill Russell as the player coach, and they've had black coaches and win championships throughout the decades.
K.C. Jones.
K.C. Jones,
Yeah.
Doc Rivers. I mean, you name them, they've had several. So it was good to see them get not just horrible jobs. The guys' jobs they got opportunities to win in the playoffs
Excellent.
and
Yes,
good
sir.
situations.
yeah.
That's great.
All right, here's the one. I'm going to move it a little bit.
Sure.
I love listening to you and Bob Ramsey, the voice of the Billikens. I love listening to you guys on the radio because, again, Batman and Robin, whichever one's Batman, but you guys are great together. And again, talk to us a little bit about that early, your journey with the Billikens and when you started out up to now, and then working alongside Bob Ramsey.
The
Well, my
Rambo.
first year was 1991, and the Billikens were on an old sports station, not sports music station, KGLD, which was owned by Rich Gray, God rest his soul.
The
and
late Rich Gray.
great Rich Gray, and he got me on the Billiken post-game show. I did the post-game show. Malcolm was doing the game, not Malcolm Briggs was doing the game, or Mike Claiborne. It was his final year too, so I did the games, the post-game show from the Kiel Club, whatever. Then after that, I became about a year or two after doing that. I became the color and commentary, and we've been together for 31 years. This will be my 31st year.
Wow.
And Rammer, I think, 36 years.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
so it's funny, we've become more and more, I mean, we started off as broadcast partners, but now we're just like the best of friends. We talk more about our families now than we do on Billiken basketball. The
Beautiful.
relationship has grown. It's just, I talk about my nephew's basketball careers or sports career. He talks about his kids,
Yeah.
and we talk about them and what they're doing. And I go to his kids' games when I get a chance, and it's just he's just so fun to work with. He's the best. I
Yeah.
mean, he's a great announcer, but he's a professional, and it's just been
Yes,
it's
sir.
just been fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And again, setting games up. I love watching Earl or something. Earl, before the game even starting, Earl's working, man.
Oh, yeah.
He's running before the crowd shows up. He's taking pictures of the band. I mean, he said,
I love the band.
He's looking
Oh,
at the
God, I
band
always
and
love the
everything,
band.
just getting everybody fired up on Twitter. Yeah, Earl works hard.
Oh yeah, and Bob's doing his lead in and everything. You know,
sir.
the Jewel at Midtown. Welcome to the Jewel at Midtown. I mean, they're doing it on there. I love it.
Yeah,
I
man.
love listening to them.
And that's pretty much led to other things, Earl. Again, television. You know, in the evenings, 10 o'clock at news, what channel you on? What channel?
Fox 2. We
Fox
do the
2
high,
News.
high school
Earl's everywhere,
football
man.
show. Yeah.
Yeah, man, the high school sports.
High school sports,
Not
that's the
football,
thing.
basketball, he does it all.
Oh man, totally does it all. I mean, to talk to you is to talk to an encyclopedia almost of sports, especially around here. But particularly, I love your passion for the PHL and the Public High League. There's such great memories of the Public High League. I mean, what are some of your best memories of covering the public highway?
Well,
for
when
you?
I moved here, and see, I came in on the back end. I mean, there's a great history from the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, it was really great. I moved here in the early 80s when I was still in high school. My first year here, that was when Central High School and Pee Wee Leonard,
Oh, yeah.
the great Pee Wee Leonard, they averaged 100 points a game
Yeah.
in a high school, not
Fantastic.
with no three-point shot.
Right.
And then obviously they had Soldan. We played Soldan. They won the state championship in '81.
That's right.
We played against that team. They beat us over at O'Fallon Tech that year. And then Vashon, obviously, that dynasty started in the early '80s.
That's right.
And then obviously the pinnacles when Vashon and Soldan played each other in the state championship game in 1985, great double overtime game won by Vashon. And then I was still in college when those things were happening, but I followed them closely. But then once I started my first year as a sports reporter, I worked for the North Side Journal, and I had the PHL beat exclusively, so I covered all those games.
Such great players.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us out there, and I'll have you explain it because maybe they'll get the credence of it. Jerome Clayton. What an athlete, what a player. Do you have any Jerome Clayton moments? I mean, he was such a
He terrible.
dominant
He was
player.
a 6'2" post player, averaged about 30 points and 15. He was just a monster around that glass, undersized, but he was just a fantastic, just a bully, but
Yeah.
a great athlete around the basket. And McKinley, like you said, had great players. He was, before and right after that, just a couple years after him, Monroe and Rowland led them to a state championship.
Oh, yeah.
Monroe Douglas and
Fantastic.
two of the greatest Billikens of all time. And then
That's right.
Bonner came, then great
And
Craig
all those
Upchurch.
different
It's
guys.
just-
Well, we're going to have to catch up another time. I mean, man, we could just go on and on here with the
one
awesome
more.
one.
I got one more
We got
question.
one more before we get out of here? All right.
Famous.
Sure.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Absolutely.
I read all your books and all your. I want to know your top 5 players.
Ooh,
Give me
look
your
out.
top 5 players that played in St. Louis
Okay, should I come from when I moved here in 1980 or when I started covering?
when you started covering.
Okay, when I started covering, okay. My starting 5 would be Jason Tatum.
Okay.
Okay.
It would be LaFonso Ellis
Oh,
in
yeah.
St. Louis.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Bradley Beal,
Okay.
All right.
Larry Hughes.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And the 5th one is always a surprise when people will tell you. Craig Upchurch from Beaumont.
That's not a
was
a
surprise
great
to
one.
me. That's
Yeah,
a
sir.
great ball player.
That's a great ball player.
He was Jason before Jason was Jason.
How about
Yeah.
that?
He's a 6'8", play all 5 positions, point guard. Now, if I had to pick a center,
Yeah.
see, there's no real. LaFonso's more of a power forward,
Yeah,
but then the big guy would be Lauren Woods from
How about
Cardinal
him?
Ritter.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
sir.
That's a good one, too.
Outstanding.
That's
And
a good
Earl-
one.
And
That's
then people did.
It's so many.
It was,
so many.
it-
That's
it-
so many.
I know. Then everybody go, Earl, where's? And then
Exactly.
then Darius Miles is the
Darius
other.
Miles,
So I mean, those 5, but then those 2. I mean, you could just
Yeah.
And then David Lee played for
David
you. I
Lee,
mean,
yeah, there's so
don't
many,
start.
Earl.
See, you go
Awesome.
get me. You do this. People
So-
do this and gets me in trouble.
Gets you in trouble.
Because
I didn't wanna get
Well,
you
he
in
gets,
trouble,
to,
Earl.
Oh,
he gets,
God.
to, he gets to hear a lot of players he coached.
Yeah, I know.
That's
That,
how
I
it
just
is.
mentioned 3 of them right there. Yeah, but it does. It's funny because people watch and you go, "Oh, you
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
mention.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
you didn't mention."
Like I said, no disrespect to. There's a lot of
No,
great players.
but they
out
just
there.
show. But
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
These guys are making us run over. We got to get out of here.
I wish we could stay forever, man.
I know. I wish we could stay forever.
But yeah, the fact that
unfortunately,
Kelvin
we can't.
coached 3 of them is.
I want to especially thank Earl Austin Jr. for being with us today here on the Sports Extravaganza presented by Hollywood Entertainment. I want to thank our sponsor, State Farm Insurance. Contact Ken Cade at 314-997-3339. He's located at 8429 Olive Street in University City. I want to thank everybody here, our crack staff led by our director, producer, which is Curtis Conyers. And I am Tony Dean here with the coach, Kelvin Lee, saying goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Earl.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That was
Way
awesome.
to go, my man.
That was awesome, Earl.
That was
Appreciate
good,
you,
Earl. I appreciate
Yes,
it.
sir.